On behalf of the House Democratic Caucus, I appreciate you all being here for our weekly Thursday press conference. We're getting very, very close to the end of deadline week, and there are several issues that we're waiting to see resolved as they pertain to the Native American Cultural Center, as they pertain to some of the Judicial Nominating Commission issues that have been coming up lately, and as they pertain to education funding, tax cuts, and education mandates. From our perspective, we're still calling upon the Speaker of the House to just simply call up the Cultural Center for a vote. This is, in our opinion, I've said it before, but it truly is an unprecedented position. The Speaker has said, well, in the past they've required 51 votes, say for example on the pension bill. Well, those are apples to oranges comparisons because, as he knows full well, there were no Democratic votes to be had in support of the pension bill. So he needed 51 members of his own caucus just to pass it. He knows full well that there are 29 votes in the Democratic caucus to support the Cultural Center bill. And so all he needs is 22 members of his own caucus to get it done. He has those votes. I'm confident that there are more than 22. I think there are more than 30 votes now in the Republican caucus who are willing to support it. And so at this point in time, for him not to call it up basically is an affront to us. It's an affront to the House Democratic caucus. I think Speaker Hickman is a good man, but what I've seen in this particular issue is a high degree of partisanship. Never before has a speaker said, I don't care what the Democratic caucus thinks. I don't care how many votes are there to support the issue. We want only Republican votes in favor of a particular issue. That's not how this is supposed to work. People don't send us to the Capitol to only vote, to only make sure that there are enough Republican votes or enough Democratic votes to pass legislation. They expect us to work together to get things passed, and we're willing to do that if the Speaker will just give us the opportunity. When it comes to education issues, we were encouraged that the State Senate decided to at least keep the Reading Sufficiency Act changes alive when they passed it off the Senate floor, although we think that they're watering down we believe they've watered down the amendments that we passed out of the House. We think that the efforts that Representative Hinkie and Casey and J.D. Nolan did in the House to make sure that we had a core team of parent, teacher, and principal was the way to go on that issue. And the Senate Republicans have a different approach to it. We hope that when that bill finally comes out of conference, it'll look more like it did when it left the House, and we're going to argue for those positions in conference. We are disappointed, however, that it has taken so long. Clearly, there have now been, I think, over 20 bills that have hit the governor's desk that she's already signed. Those must be their priorities. None of those bills have to do with the Third Grade Reading Sufficiency Act and to alleviate the pressure that those students are under. And we feel that if it really was a priority to come in and help those kids, it would have already been on her desk. And the fact that the Senate Republicans have been playing games with that bill demonstrates that their priorities are not, their priorities don't include, in our opinion, giving some security and assurances to third graders in the state of Oklahoma. On the issue of tax cuts, with the budget numbers coming in for the month of March down some $41 million below estimates, we think that is another opportunity for the Republican majority and the governor to wake up to the realities that the state of Oklahoma is facing. This is the wrong time to pass an income tax cut in Oklahoma. At a time when our public schools have been decimated by cuts, at a time when our correction departments have been decimated by cuts, and a variety of other services. For example, we've got the developmental disability folks at the Capitol today. Their waiting list is still nearly 7,000 people on that list. The unemployment within their community, within the DDSD waiting list community, unemployment there is about at 80%. These are folks that want help to find jobs. We can provide those. We can provide some opportunities for people in those communities, but we can't do it if we keep cutting back on revenues and cutting taxes. And it's nearly impossible for the legislature to address funding for education, higher education, the disabled, corrections, transportation, if we continue to move down the path that they've been moving on. And then finally, the big, I guess, sort of the big announcement yesterday evening that there may be a potential settlement on the gross production tax. Our caucus is sort of taking a wait-and-see approach. We want to see what the hard numbers look like. If it really is a 2% cap for 2 years, we want to see what those economic numbers will look like for the industry as well as for the state of Oklahoma. And so we don't have an official position yet as a caucus on that issue, but we were interested to learn of the potential agreement.